Hey guys, Tomboy61, and today we are taking a look at the Pytor Bagration, the Tier 7 Russian heavy cruiser that is the campaign reward ship for this update. Bit of an interesting ship. It's okay, is the TLDR on this one. We're going to be taking a look at the build, go over the mods that we have equipped, go over its consumables, go over the stats, and then show off a game in it. So if you want to learn about this campaign ship, whether it's worth it or not, make sure you stay tuned. Also, make sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button because we always have more World of Warships Legends content coming your way. Small disclosure, Wargaming did give me this ship as part of being a community contributor for review, so I just want to make that disclosure up front. With all that said, let's go ahead and dive on in, and first things first, let's go ahead and talk about the commander. I'm running Nikolai Kuznetsov, and it's pretty much the same as my Stalin build. We have Follow the Sun is his base trait, which increases the main battery range of the cruiser. Then we have Von Essen to help with AP pen angles, and Membelli to increase or decrease the reload time on those shells. And then we have Beyond Range to increase the range of the main battery. Intuitive, which gives us that radar indicator of the nearest ship. Punch Through, which increases the armor piercing capabilities of the maximum damage of the AP shells. And then Steer Clear, which improves the ship's steering as well as improving the repair time when your steering gears do get knocked out. And finally, we're running Fully Packed as the final perk, though you could also probably make an argument for running Refill Station. As far as mod slots we are running, well, in the first mod slot, we're running Aiming System Mod 1. In the second slot, we're running Steering Gear. In the third slot, we're running Concealment Systems, though you could probably make an argument for Steering Gear Mod 3, but this ship really isn't that maneuverable totally and overall, so I would stick with Concealment. And then finally, we're running Main Battery Mod 3. So, and then let's go ahead and also talk about consumables. So, we do only have 3 consumables on this ship, which does kind of let it down for me. The first one is going to be that Damage Control Party. It's going to last 5 seconds, and it will reload in 58.8 seconds. The second is going to be the sonar. You could also replace that with defensive AA. Sonar, you have 3.1 kilometer detection on torpedoes, 4.4 kilometer detection on ships. It's going to last for about 100 seconds, and it's going to reload in 176.4 seconds. And with our with Fully Packed, we are getting 3 charges of it. We also do have a repair party. 252 HP per second is healed. You have, it lasts for 28 seconds. The reload time on it is 58.8 seconds, and you do get 3 charges of it. So those are the consumables. Next, let's go ahead and dive on into what is the stats of this ship, because they're interesting. We'll get into them. Okay, so hit points, 42,000 hit points. With an armor thickness between 16 and 210 millimeters. Let's go ahead and throw up that the armored view right here. We can see on the nose we have a split icebreaker style hull. So on the lower hull you have a band of 40 millimeter armor, and on the upper band you have a 25 millimeter band of armor, though that lower hull armor is very, very thin. So even though you may try to kind of bow tank some people, you're only going to be able to bow tank up to 14-inch guns. 15, 16-inch guns, they are going to overmatch the bow of the ship. Deck armor, similarly, you are looking at 25 millimeters on the aft and on the stern. And then in the middle of the ship, in midship, you're looking at 27 millimeters of armor, which is a kind of an odd value that you don't usually see in this game. Next, let's go ahead and talk citadels. And this does have sort of one of those weird Russian magical citadels, I like to call it, just because if you look, it is skinnier than the boat itself. It does not touch either side of the ship, but you will notice it does stick out of the water by a little, so it is exposed, and you can absolutely be citadeled when you are broadside, and it will happen to you because it's a cruiser with not hugely thick armor, but you do tend to get away with a little bit more than you probably should. It has that weird, just Russian quinky-dink armor, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Anyways, that is the armor view. Let's get back to those stats. Torpedo reduction on the ship, 16%. Main battery of three barreled guns that are 180 millimeters. Firing range on those guns, 18.3 kilometers with a reload time of 9.3 seconds, giving you 58 shells per minute. 180 time on the guns, 25.9 seconds. HE damage, you're going to be doing 2,500, giving you a DPM of 145,000, which is kind of middle of the road for the cruiser class. Chance of fire on those guns, 13%. AP damage with our build, 4,778 per shell, giving you 277,000 damage per minute. Once again, kind of in the middle, upper middle of the DPMs for the cruisers. These guns are pretty good. They're very accurate, and they're that typical kind of Russian ballistics of very good flat firing arc, and they do generally go where you point them. Secondaries, 8 two-barreled 100 millimeter guns with a firing range of 5.2 kilometers and a reload of 4 seconds. Damage on those guns, 1,400 with a 6% chance to catch fire. Torpedoes, you have 2 5-barreled 533 millimeter launchers, one on each side of the ship, mounted in the midsection, giving you okay firing arcs, not great, but they are okay, mainly used for point defense. They have a reload time of 131 seconds, and they do 14,400 damage per torpedo. Detectability range on them, 1.1 kilometers, and a torp speed of 55 knots and a range of 8 kilometers. AA has a maximum range of 5 kilometers, doing 156 damage per second in that first ring, and then it will add up to 280 as it gets closer to the center ring, which isn't too bad. Max speed of the vessel, 34.5 knots, with a turning radius of 890 meters, and a rudder shift time of 7.9. So fairly maneuverable, but the overall turning radius is quite large. Concealment, let's go ahead and talk to detectability at sea. It's going to be 12 kilometers. By air, it's going to be 7.5 kilometers. And in smoke, the smoke fire penalty on the ship, really good at only 2 kilometers. And those are the stats of the Pytor Bagration. Overall, I think it's a pretty decent ship, but not one that is too amazing. And let's just go ahead and dive on in to a game with it now. So as you can see, we are on the map Atlantic, and we're gonna go ahead and be over on the A side. We have a destroyer and a battleship supporting us, and when I say supporting us, it's really us who is going to have to support them. Pytor Bagration is very much kind of the long-range support cruiser, more focused on AP than HE, and that's kind of the way Kuznetsov is built the way he is for this loadout. Is this ship going to be the new Ochakov? No, it's not. Will I be taking the ship out very often? Probably not. It is a better than average support cruiser is the way to look at this thing. It does a role fairly well. It provides long-range, accurate HE and AP fire with a better focus on AP than HE. We can see our fellow Russian ship there, the Ochakov, probably the scourge of matchmaking, one that causes many people strife and is probably one of the harder ships to eliminate. And this ship does a good job countering it, sort of. Like, this Ochakov player, not criticizing him, but generally Ochakovs are meant to stay in the back line, kind of kite around and not really push in. He's pushing into us right now, so he's not setting himself up optimally to go ahead and win this engagement. Now, one of the things that Ochakov does have that is nice for it that we don't have access to is a radar. It's very weird to be in a tier 7 Russian ship, a cruiser, and not have access to radar. I know radar cruisers have become kind of more and more prevalent in the tier 6, tier 7 game modes, but this is a ship where it does feel somewhat lacking for not having it. Anyways, Paolo Emilio pops up right there, and we're like, oh, hello there. You were probably going to try to torp us, or you just didn't realize we were there. We're going to go ahead and switch on over to HE, activate the sonar, because that's the best defense we have against something in smoke, and just start to try to push him on out of the cap. And if we can go ahead and take the cap, it will do well for us. We can see that their team has kind of really abandoned A. That Ochakov did pull the full Yui and is out of here. Paolo is now on his own because the champagne that spawned with these guys, well, he's about equal with B the last time we saw him, and he's definitely going to go join the clump up at C. So right now, our plan, just kind of push through with the Pytor and try to get a couple of shells in. We go ahead and spot that old Ochakov, just trying to keep our head on the swivel, because generally once you kind of you stop being able to see one ship, or you change your kind of gun position to where one ship is, I'm always suspicious of destroyers popping up and trying to counter it. Ochakov got 3 fires there, good for him, using up all that RNG. He goes broadside to us. We see Paolo's torps right there. We can also see that we are easily capping the point now. We get another Citadel on Ochakov, and this is what the Pytor does great. A longer range cruisers getting those Citadels, because the AP is pretty good. I think that is the best characteristic of the Pytor, is going to be that AP. We can see Champagne just outside of our firing range. Like the range on the guns is fairly decent, as most Russian ships are. Or Russian cruisers, 18.3 kilometers in our build, and really, it's a support cruiser. It is not designed to be the front of the line. It is designed to kind of stay out on the edges, stay out on the fringes, try to find those vulnerable spots. If you have a broadside battleship, pump some lead into them, make them regret their positioning, and just kind of chunk away damage on those individuals. We see Bismarck paying attention to the majority of our fleet down in B and C, and we're just going to start to try to annoy him here. 3k salvo there, respectable, just pulling HP out of that Citadel, right? That's all we want to do. We can kind of angle in right here, do okay. You know, if those guns do land at the front of the ship, he is going to overmatch us, but we have enough armor to be somewhat competitive at this point. And that's kind of what we do, is we stay at range, hope the shells lose enough velocity, hope they come in at such an angle where we're not going to get just flat overmatched, and have a decent chance of getting a ricochet, and also having kind of an escape plan when it comes to duking it out with battleships, because we won't be able to stand up to them. If we give them broadside, it can be forgiving, but we can also get nailed here. Fletcher pops up. We're going to go ahead, flip on over to HE. Our Kagero pops smoke, because of course Kagero in a fight against a Fletcher is not going to last long. Fletcher isn't engaging the Kagero yet, which is sort of surprising, but hey, I'm sure he will take it. We take a decent hit right there. As we can see, that was just one shell that took 5k out of our health, and that's kind of what you expect when you're going up against the 16-inch guns of like Iowa and Bismarck. Like you're going to take fairly large hits. You just kind of have to try to do the right stuff to mitigate it. Now we are seeing a torpedo pop up and a lot more torpedoes, and we're like, oh, we're gonna have to dodge those. And this is where we're gonna kind of show off the lack of maneuverability of this ship. We're gonna go full ahead, try to nose into this rock right here to provide some sort of shelter, get us straightened out, kind of provide a kind of protection, a shield against the torpedoes. Thankfully, they all tucker themselves out, and we don't have to worry about it. We are still able to keep fire on this Bismarck. Bismarck is burning fairly well, and we're going to go ahead and kind of steal that kill right there. There we go. That's our first kill. We are up to 50,000 damage so far in the game. We've done pretty decently at just kind of, like I said, supporting the battleships. It's what Pytor is good at, is just supporting our team. This This does mean you have to rely on your teammates to do a lot more of the pushes. You can only try to position yourself and do the best, but you ultimately need to kind of stay in the back lines to be most effective, which means if you don't have people that seize the initiative on your team, it's going to feel somewhat underwhelming. As far as positives of the ship, like I said before, the guns I think are the positive. The range is a positive. You can see right here, we are just consistently hitting that Bismarck every couple of seconds for a couple thousand hit points, which you know, is helping our team, is supporting our team. We are doing what we need to do. Iowa gets taken down, and we see that there is a lot of fire coming out of where that Fletcher has been hiding. Our sonar is back. We're gonna go ahead, pop our sonar, and start charging in, because unfortunately we don't have radar. Like this is kind of the weaker side of the ship, is we have to push in. Fletcher comes on out of his hidey hole. We get one salvo in. He gets finished off by the Kagero, and now we're off dodging these torps. Champagne now going to be our primary target. Flip on over to him, dodge the torps. He is running away. We're going to see what we can do with the AP. The AP does have pretty good pen angles, especially when we're running Von Essen. It gives you just that little extra chance to get some damage here and there. Sadly, all of those were ricochets, which is kind of what we would expect when we are at this angle, but we see him turning in. So we're going to give ourselves another go, see if we can get a little bit of extra damage off of that. We're going to pop our second to last heal, since we're in somewhat calm times, and at this point, we know the win isn't fully secured. It is only 4-on-3, but I'm feeling pretty good, especially because we know the enemy destroyer is a Paolo. We don't really need to worry about that. We have 2 of the 3 bases. We are slightly behind on points, but the battleship is a Champagne. He is taking really good damage right now. We can see he every couple of seconds he's taking some damage either from our team or our salvos. Now that he is somewhat broadside, we're able to get some damage up into that superstructure, which is exactly what we need to do. Sadly, we do hit that island right there, and we have to wait on this next salvo. But we can also see with our with intuitive, we can see either Champagne is the nearest ship, or the Paolo is going to be in that where that radar is, and we now know, oh, the Paolo is now in that area. And as we speak about it, there he is. There's Paolo. He pops up. He doesn't, I don't think he has any more smokes to try to make himself disappear. We fire the AP at him because it's what we have loaded. Switch over to HE, and before we can get that second salvo off, he's down. So now we just have Atago left to go. 3 ships versus the Atago. We're going to go ahead and load AP, just because the way he's sailing right now, it looks like he's going to come out broadside. So if we can go ahead and pump some AP into those citadels, we'll do fairly well for ourselves. So he's kind of just nudging out here. We're also going to go ahead and push into C in case he pulls some weird running and he's able to last over a minute away from us. Maybe we can pull some extra AP. We're going to go ahead and give him a little bit of a broadside, because knowing Atago, he probably has HE ready to go. He was a little well angled there, but he's turning his rear guns to try to get everything lined up. He is in fact running all HE. He sets 2 fires. We're going to go ahead and extinguish that, put out one last salvo before he gets nailed, and that is the end of the game on Atlantic in the Pytor. Pytor's a decent ship. She's kind of just better than average on your cruisers. We end up walking top of the team. And yeah, guys, if you like the video, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. See ya.